Is AetherDrift going to have the impact that Wizards of the Coast needs to keep making sets like this? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about the release date of this product being February 14th and what's actually happening with the sales of this product. Whether you look at AetherDrift as pod racing, death race, or any other movie like Cannonball Run from back in the day that is a car racing, vehicle racing movie, around the world in 30 days. However you want to look at it, that's how most players see it, and it's not really what we expected. Welcome back everyone, MTG Moxman here. Thank you again for hanging out with me on the channel today. And that's exactly what's going on with players right now is when they look at AetherDrift, you're looking at the story, the cards, the artwork, and of course the mechanics of this game. Where we see iconic characters and where we see the storyline going is not what players wanted. Now, how you know this is looking always at the sales numbers, looking at where we have brought ourselves inside this game and saying, was this worthy of opening my wallet? Are there cards I want that I should pick up as singles? Is there a sealed product that I have to buy right now? And I'll tell you in today's video, there is a product that players wanted to buy. There is one out there, and we're going to get to that. And it's not the collector box. Interesting. Now, when we look at the overall sales numbers, I can tell you right now that the play booster boxes are not selling at all. They're not moving. The collector boxes are moving reasonably well, but they're going to trend down in value. I'm not saying you're going to get some major flush of the system. You are going to see a decreased price, ever so slightly, of maybe 5% on some of these products as they drift down a bit, just from the lack of sales and stores being able to move the bar a little bit to move this product. But it looks like it's going to end up like many other collector boxes and just be sitting on some shelves and at distribution level. But remember, this does not mean a product dump for any collector boxes. It's not going to happen. They are underprinting like they have never done before. So the numbers of collector boxes out there are much lower than we've traditionally seen in sets like Ikoria, Zendikar Rising, and the like. It's a different play world out there, so it's not going to be like that. And the reason we know that these boxes are going to be sitting around is because we already have Tarkir, Dragonstorm coming up. We got Final Fantasy, we got Marvel. We have a lot of big marquee product line coming up this year that is going to take away the attention. It is going to have the hype train lined up ready to leave the station before we even get off the ride of some of these other products. And it's not really a bad thing. It's going to send a message to Wizards of the Coast. You are going to send it in a way that lets them understand that this was not a product you were interested in. This is not a direction the company should be taking again in the future, and they should probably avoid it. Maybe it was fun as a weird kind of almost unset idea where the artwork and stuff is like weird, but at the same time, it's not what we're looking for. And with Wizards of the Coast trying to move up into the movie world and get some of these iconic ideas brought to the big screen, they're going to have to do a lot better to get our attention. So it's not selling well. We're not moving product. The singles market is kind of doing its thing, especially with cards like Monument of Endurance. So where are we going, and what do we know that worked and what do we know that didn't work? Well, here's the interesting thing. Take a look at this. The one area other than singles inside AetherDrift that is the highlight of this set, it is going to be the commander deck, Eternal Might. Now, when players saw this deck spoiled out and we saw the cards going inside, yeah, it caused a little bit of reverberation on the reserve list. It had a lot of zombie fans kind of jumping in there and saying, what can I do with this deck? And when you look at the local level and you see it sold out, then you start looking on things like TCG Player, and you say, okay, it's more available. There's a lot more people selling it with online platforms. So how well is it selling? Well, when we go and take a look at those sales numbers, they are through the roof. This is the one area that Wizards of the Coast, when they put this together, it caught the interest of a lot of Commander players and a lot of tribal people who want to build with zombies. Let's not forget how individualistic Magic players can be. They like to flush out an idea, a concept, a tribal theme. Zombies plays very well into that trope, and a lot of players get very enthusiastic about only having to remove a few cards to build a whole new idea into their commander decks. Remember, a casual format leaves a lot more open space for players to build different levels of commander decks, and the bracket system is going to help really kind of set that in place over time. So when you have the idea of players coming around, they like dwarves, they like elves, they like goblins, they like trolls for all I know. This case, we're talking about zombies. The fact that we've got zombies inside of AetherDrift, Avishkar, really it's Kaladesh, and we bring that around, it's going to have players buying the cards. Not just the singles, but players buying the whole commander deck, which is what's happening with Eternal Might. We've seen this a couple of times where one commander deck just seems more powerful, more worthy of your dollar. Even as the price rises, you can dive in and get that card. Now, the good news is lots of cards inside that commander deck are very inexpensive on the singles market, and you can buy them for $1 or $2. So you don't have to buy that entire deck. If you're just looking for individual cards, you'll go on TCG Player, whatever online platform you're using, and you're going to go ahead and buy the individual cards and save yourself a ton of money. You don't have to buy that commander deck, but it's a good starting point. The other thing about AetherDrift has the Verges. Those Verge lands, they sold really well, and they'll probably continue because they've already completed the whole cycle. You'll probably have a lot of players buying those over the next couple of years, and you're going to see those sales hit around the $10 or $12 mark. Another singles card that really got in there, but again, not worthy of buying a box and risking everything. And that's the problem that Wizards of the Coast is going to face. Because here's we round out the end of the video here, guys. Let's not forget, this was an idea that was on the cutting room floor 2 years ago. 24 months ago. They finally get it to production, and the landscape of the game has changed, but they can't do anything about it. It's in the can. They already had it finished. They've already got the artwork paid for. They've got the marketing and everything done. The PR is ready to go. So they launch it anyway, and they just hope they can float through it. Will it be a complete flop? Probably not. The individual cards inside the set, those individual cards are going to carry things a little bit forward, and they're going to see some value there. And some of those cards will rise in value, especially if they don't reprint them and allow them to kind of rise and inflate to be added to a premium product later, where they can hopefully recoup some of that capitalization they've put into this particular set. But they're going to learn their lesson, because the biggest voice players have in this game is our wallet. And when you don't use your wallet to buy these cards, when you say this was not worthy of me going in and buying a box, this was not worthy of me buying a collector booster, whatever it may be, when you don't spend the money, that's a big voice going to Wizards of the Coast. That's a big thing going out there saying, this didn't work for us. Do better. And just like any product, they're going to look at it and say, this one didn't float. What went on? And they'll ask the questionnaires to the distributors. They'll ask it out there to the local stores. They'll get answers back about how the players feel kind of in a sectioned area. And then you'll have that come back. And sometimes they even float those questionnaires to players themselves. When that happens like that, you are going to see the negativity. Some will be very brutal. Some will just be very passive. But it's going to take away from a lot of players who may have enjoyed it, because there's always those few detractors that are going to say this was a great set and it hit home for them in the Hot Wheels type theme. But for most players, it's not going to. It's a fantasy world, and the idea of seeing motorcycles and race cars and stuff like that doesn't really work in the fantasy world that we believe, or at least a lot of players believe Magic to be. And they went too hard to one side to bring this in. We didn't like it really that much when we've seen a lot of the vehicles. If they took a more fantasy take for those vehicles, you might have seen a better result. But who am I to say that? That's just one voice out of everyone offering an opinion on what I thought the product should look like. And I'm sure you guys will have all kinds of comments about that. I'll probably hear about it in the comment section. But here at the end, either way, the message has been sent. The money is going to move on to Tarkir, Dragonstorm. It's already going to pass this set by. This one is going to work out like a Karlov Manor. It's not going to float the way they needed it to, which means we are less likely to ever see this one come up again. It's going to take a decade for us to ever go back here again and do a race car type thing. And that's only if nostalgia plays into it years from now and kind of gets people reinterested in this idea. Because if not, they'll let it just sit there and rot. They will. They won't bother looking at it again because it didn't make them any money. If you're not making money, you're not going back there and investing in it. Guys, thanks again for hanging out. Thank you for being here on my channel today. A reminder, if you enjoyed today's content, to like and subscribe to my channel. Shoot some comments in the comments section. And if you're shopping for any of these cards, don't forget to use my TCG Player affiliate link. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Hey guys, a big shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons of my channel. Because of those patrons, daily uploaded content is made possible each and every day. You too can become a patron by going onto my Patreon, looking up my name, and seeing if we have any slots available. Remember, there's prizes out there to be had, there's adventures to be won, and the supporters of this channel are the ones who make it happen. So thanks again for all that support. I will see you guys tomorrow with another video. I mean, honestly, what was Wizards of the Coast expecting to have happen? The sales numbers, they're abysmal. The only thing that's going to save them is they put enough zombies and stuff in here to get other tribal themes involved, and the commander base is so large, you're going to have a lot of people augmenting their decks. That's going to crack some boxes. You're going to see some sales. But after about 25 days of this, not even a month, 25 days, this month of March only. So February into March, done. Tarkir Dragonstorm will take over. It's the set that people are hoping will lift us back up. Moving on to Final Fantasy, Marvel, big things. It's going to take everyone's attention away. And we're going to forget that sets like Duskmourn, AetherDrift, Karlov Manor even existed. Now, of course they exist. But the money's not going to be spent there. There'll be some singles being sold, but the real money is not going that direction. So here's my advice to you here in the Ramble Jamble section. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore them. Wait for the money to move down a little bit. And if you're looking for some of those cards like Valvalgoth or whatever, pick up some of the individual cards. Look at Bloomburrow and say, hey, are the talents going down in price? Are some of these cards going to be worthy? Because when that money moves on and it sucks the air out of the room, those prices drop. And when those prices drop because they got to move into new things, that's your chance to strike, because those prices will likely reinflate on individual good cards about 8 months after that when we go into the new year. Because they're going to be inside rotation a lot longer in Standard, they're going to be played in Commander for years to come. Some of these cards' values will go up a lot higher, which allows you to either use those cards because you got them cheaper, or be able to sell into the market, get some good trade in value, and work your way up the ladder into some power cards, into your first dual land, into some other stuff. A lot of people do it, and a lot of people don't tell you about it, but it happens all the time. You just got to pay attention, look at the cards you really like, or the cards that are worth a lot of money, mark them down in a spreadsheet, and just keep revisiting as the prices drop. I'll make some videos on it at some point. I'll probably mention some of these cards you should be watching, but it's one of those things you're like, yeah, I've warned people enough. And if you're not a regular viewer of this channel, you're probably going to miss it. That sounds like a Ferris Bueller quote, doesn't it? If you don't take time to enjoy things, you're just going to miss it. Anyway, thanks again for being here. The Ramble Jamble is over. New computer seems to be working. And you know what? I got no complaints. Guys, have a great one. I'm going to have this coffee is what I'm going to do.